So welcome. Wow, you guys got quiet fast. Welcome to the Desert Arts Preview of the 2015 Art for Black Rock City. Yay! We are thrilled to have you guys here. For many people, this is the absolute best event of the year, minus that little one where we all get dirty and dusty. This is our chance to kind of beguile you and introduce you to some of the fabulous, fantastic, crazy, off-the-wall ideas that some hardy souls are willing to bring out to the desert. This is your chance to kind of get a sneak peek to understanding kind of what's under the hood, what's going on in the minds of those crazy artists who decided they're going to devote their heart, minds, body, souls, and bank accounts to being able to make happen so you can have the most fantastic holiday you've ever had in the world. This year in particular has been an amazing year. This year we started creating the Burning Man Arts. So we've merged together the Burning Man Art Department with BRAF, Black Rock Arts Foundation, to help strengthen all our efforts to support artists and Burning Man art in the world. It's through this collaboration that we're able to reach out to help support the artists and make a bigger impact. So not only the 70,000 hardy souls who make it out to the desert can actually enjoy the things that we create, but everyone around the world can be touched by the wonderful creativity that we have burgeoning on our beautiful dusty playa souls. So tonight, you're gonna get a sneak peek of 8 different projects. We've got some of the most wonderful artists here who've been willing for me to be able to pull them out of their workshops, where normally they'd be working away every single second to get the art ready for the desert, to come and share with you a little bit about the ideas and the insights of what actually kind of pulls it together. This year has been an amazing year for art. We actually have funded 78 projects. That's up from 61 last year. We've also, through, again, the creation of Burning Man Arts and the dedication of the Burning Man organization, upped our grant money from $815,000 last year to $1.2 million. And as many of you know, it's not just the money that we actually have to help support the artists, and we help support them in a lot of different ways. We help to support them through a lot of monetary means that actually brings our total art budget to over $3 million. So I hope you get a chance to sit back, relax, and kind of join us on that mystical journey to learn a little bit more about what Black Rock City promises you for this year's Burning Man. The first group we have up is actually Kirsten Mate and John Zaragardi, who are going to help talk to us a little bit about Project Empire. Now, John and Kirsten, you may know from everything from like the Golden Snail, which they did, or my personal favorite, the Serpent Twins, where they bring a whole new definition to what mobile art can be. They create a whole mystique, a whole idea, a whole mythology where they can help to translate what could be just simply gears and vehicles into something truly magical as it escapes across the playa surface. So please join me in welcoming John and Kirsten, and let's hear about Project Empire.
That's the next one. Okay, great. Hello. I can't see anybody.
It makes it easier.
Yeah. I am Kirsten Mate, and this is John Zaragardi. And in the past, we've done, as she said, the Serpent Twins, which were the 50-foot metal serpent kinetic sculptures. And this is the rest of our crew for our new project this year, which is called Empire. And so I want to give you a little kind of, just kind of sell you on what we're going to bring out to the desert this year. So in the late 1950s, NASA rocket scientists led by Wernher von Braun decided we're working on all sorts of rocket technologies to get astronauts off the Earth, but their biggest plan was to mount a manned mission to Mars. And unbeknownst to the rest of the country, they actually secretly made this manned mission to Mars and secretly launched the mission in 1965. We found the launch site, which was 30 miles away from Burning Man as it is now. It's a secret site in Nevada. And there's been a lot of rumors about this circulating all these years. People have dug up information about it, that they launched, the manned mission went out and disappeared off of all communications and was never heard from again. And because of this, and they didn't want the public to know about it, that's why they didn't publicize they were launching, is they buried the whole thing in secrecy. Everything was classified. There's no mention of it in official recognition that it launched. Although, if you dig around in the NASA archives, you can find all the information pertaining to the mission called Empire, and its code name was Empire, which is Early Manned Planetary Interplanetary Round Trip Expedition. So, recently, we have come across there's several websites devoted to what happened to Project Empire, did it happen? And recently we came across one that had learned of a communication intercepted by a deep space satellite. And the communication went as, hello, Mission Control, this is Empire. Mission Control, are you there? Empire is coming home. Wow. So what we've decided is that, we are building the ship that's coming home. So what this is, first of all, oh, here we go, that's what we're looking at. We feel that the project sort of feel of the whole thing is exploratory and the exuberance of the early space missions and the new zeitgeist of the wonders of space, Carl Sagan and Neil deGrasse Tyson, art and technology and science. And so that's why we've kind of chosen a still more glorious dawn awaits, not a sunrise, but a galaxy rise, which is what Carl Sagan has said in the past. Here we are there's Werner. You thought I was lying, with his rocket ships. And one of them in there is an idea, concept drawing for the Empire mission. When the mission disappeared, but people found out about it, here's some more. They thought maybe it looked like this, we're not sure. But we think it's going to look like this. So because we have a lot of metal fabrication, master welder, and sheet metal experience building the Serpents and the Golden Mean, this is all going to be made out of steel and acrylic bubbles that we're going to either fabricate or get made. And what we've decided is that Empire was sucked up into some sort of wormhole by accident, which is why they never came back, even though it was a round-trip expedition. But they got crash-landed in a galaxy very far away, and luckily, that was inhabited by an alien race that were pretty friendly. And because our intrepid explorers were very along the lines of MacGyver geniuses, they were given a ship from the aliens that could not come back on its own. It didn't have quite enough power for interstellar space. But our astronauts went ahead and put on their Saturn V rocket from 1960s technology, and that's what's on the back end of it. So right now, one of the things we're doing is working with a lot of CAD stuff for one of the first times, and Toast here from Because We Can is doing a lot of the design for that to help give our crew cut lists, which is much faster along the lines than we've done in the past, which is basically a piece of chalk on the ground. And B also is doing a lot of our design, especially with giving us kind of a rendition of what John and I kind of put our hands up in the air and say, right here, it's like kind of like this. And then she did this artwork here. So they're both working away on that. our next slide. This is the Empire launch site, which is 30 miles away from where Black Rock City is now.
You note the rings.
Yes.
This is an actual Google satellite image currently.
So part of our project is actually to make it an immersive performance art experience. So we've created a whole backstory, and we are creating also websites that if you just happened upon them, they would be somebody saying, I've found all this information about this secret mission, and you can very easily be sucked into the rabbit hole of that. And a lot of our stuff is woven into NASA factual reality. And along those lines, we are creating our own department, insignia, and outfits, and all the crew are going to sort of live as the crew whenever they're on the ship. And if people ask them questions about space, they can answer stuff. And so we're going to be a very immersive performance art-oriented thing. And to that end, Meyer Sound has given us a bunch of very high-end speakers we're very thankful for, and we are creating a sound design soundscape that simulates the launch stuff and rocket stuff, but also is using NASA deep space sounds that they've captured, and we are going to recreate sort of a bubble of sound around our car that has, you can be floating in space and listening to the Kepler radio frequency of a spinning red giant and stuff like that. So that's very exciting, and hopefully
Myers is going to throw some new technology at us that will create a bubble where the oomph is disappears.
It's a noise. Hopefully, it's a noise canceling system that we can then fill in with like nice telemetry and floating sounds, or the 2001 Space Odyssey soundtrack, depending on our mood. Here's some of our work, some of the concept drawings that we're working on, just to kind of show, these are the little models that are out there that, because they cut in 3D foam. And in there is kind of iterations of the shape of it as it's going. This is one of our latest things. The front end will be a little different. And one of the large challenges is that it's being built on a Isuzu NQR box truck, which we are keeping freely legal so we can drive it to Burning Man and we don't have to load it on a truck. This is the last couple weekends. That's the beginning of the rocket, so that we can fabricate it, and that's how it's going to lay there. And here's how far we've gotten about a week ago with the framework for the whole thing that's going to hold up the whole back structure. And let's see, what's the next stuff? This is just more electronic stuff. In addition to the sound, we're also going to have a pixel light show that's programmable LEDs all along the inside of the rocket ship to also enhance the whole feeling of rocket launch and all this sort of thing. Everything is going to be sunk together, lights, the sound, and fog machines. Here's part of our world we're creating. Camille is part of our crew. She's created the Empire, that's our mission patch. So these will probably change a little bit. And the second one is our division, because we're interstellar division. And she's also helping with create costumes, which we've had to create. So we have several layers for degrees from 100 to 30. And to fit all shapes and sizes, because we have a large crew, because this stuff does not get built by John or me and John or the four of us up here, five of us. We have a large crew of 25 people that really, we're so thankful for people who do this out of love. So, and this is a list so far of our group. 6 of us. And if you'll notice, we also have our own alien language that's going to be installed on the ship. All the signs will be in this alien language, which Bee created. And so we'll probably give out cards to people so that they can decode it, because it's a whole coded language. It's very exciting how much amazing stuff all our crew has come up with to just like make an immersive experience. So I thought that was important.
Thank you very much.
No, that's all I'm going to say.
So I can't wait to see it. One of the exciting things is tonight you're going to get a chance to ask Kirsten and John and our other speakers questions at the end of all the presentations. We also invite you to a reception that we're going to have in the lobby directly after the event, where you can mingle, talk, laugh, and figure out how you too can help support this wonderful art going to Black Rock City. So our next speaker is Rebecca Anders. Now, Rebecca, you know, I could spend the whole evening just pontificating about the wonderful art that Rebecca has been part of. She has helped to create everything from the Flaming Lotus Girls and all their wonderful pieces on Playa. She's also been one of the instigators for the Flux Foundation and the Temple of Flux. She's also done a lot of her own work, everything from, if you remember the good old days of Fishbug, on to this year's Illumicanth. A beautiful, beautiful monster fish that you can actually enjoy a little bit with her model out in the lobby. So please join me in welcoming Rebecca. What's on the screen, and this is it, and the space bar. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here. It's really exciting. The Illumicanth is the project that we're creating this year. Really, really excited. We have a wonderful crew. We're working out of Oakland, out of the American Steel building in Oakland, just across the bay from here. And we're just super pumped to bring the Illumicanth. It is an enormous deep-sea fish, which is charging up out of the earth, ready to bite you maybe, or just sample the air or the excitement that's around. This is a metaphor for extreme adaptation in the world. We live in an environment right now that's changing so rapidly, we can barely keep track of it. And it seems the more that we learn through science and all kinds of observation, the more we understand that we don't have a chance to even know all the amazingness of the world as things are becoming extinct or getting washed away because of the changes that are happening from all kinds of things. There's no need to give a list of what kinds of changes are in the world. I'm sure you all listen to the news. However, one of the ideas behind this piece is the notion that an organism might adapt. Now, adaptation happens over generations, right? Things don't happen just like that unless an organism has an idea that it has to change, that it has to do something extremely different in order to make it in the world. So this is almost a wish. This is almost an idea that one creature could decide it's going to make it and go someplace totally different from where it's been, whether that's in its practice or in its physical form. So we're creating a deep-sea fish which bursts up out of the desert. Change. There's also the idea that experiences, especially physical experiences and cultural experiences, stimulate the ideas of change in the human mind. And of course, this artwork is about human culture, naturally. And I think that humanity is facing some really serious questions of change in regard to all the things that we do, the way that we farm, the way that we drive, the way that we travel. And when we bring together the questions of climate change, we have to think about how quickly can we change? Can we change quickly? Can we change within our own lifetimes? Is it even possible? Well, maybe it is. So hopefully this artwork will inspire you to change, or at least think about change, or at minimum, think about how many organisms are all throughout the world, from the smallest pore to the deepest sea level, and how all of them are being affected by the changes that are happening in our environment, some of which are human-made, some of which we're not even sure yet. So the Illumicanth is about 28 feet long. The crown of its head is about 15 feet high. There's a swirling storm of flame effects coming out of its mind. It's called the brainstorm. So that'll go up to about 20 feet. The interior is about 12 foot wide, and the steel structure on the outside houses a soft form inside. It's almost a tent, if you will, or a soft sculpture inside. The interior will be embedded with LED lights that are programmed to give us kind of a pulsing, lifelike change on the inside. So we can send sweeps of color over it. We can imitate the organs inside a creature that pulse and change. Many of the deep sea creatures that are way down have crazy running lights going down them. Nobody's really sure why. They're amazing. So we're going to install a system of LEDs both on the exterior and the interior to kind of give two different environments. So it's quite different from the outside as it is on the inside. Obviously, you go in through the big gaping jaws. As you can see, it's wheelchair friendly. Very important, very important. And for those who are ambulatory, you can sneak out through the side gills. We've got little benches on the side, and there are little flame effects coming up from around its crown that you can operate from the outside. You can actually spin the brainstorm from inside of its gullet. So we intend to create a thing as well as an environment inside, and hopefully an experience that causes you to rethink what you're seeing from every vantage point, which I've always thought is a great way to get people to rethink everything that they're observing, is to just give that chance to have a strange experience, you know, maybe stay with it for a little while. This is a little bit of a breakdown. I'm not sure how well that shows up here. Sorry, this slide is not very clear. A little bit of a breakdown on how we're going to build it. It's primarily a steel structure. We'll have sculptural bones that are also structural, and the sort of scale panels on the outside, because the deep sea fish are often plated. They're really crazy looking. They're beautiful. So we're going to make these plates on the outside, which are kind of spiky and hard and a little bit maybe unfriendly. And as I said, this soft glowing form on the inside. Obviously, we'll have great big old lips and scary looking teeth on it. And the flame effect sculpture set at the top will probably be stainless steel. It's a propane flame effect set. This is a drawing of the pattern on the outside. We want to cut the panels and let the light and the air come through. Especially when you make a sculpture for Burning Man, you not only have to think about the heat, but you have to think about the shade, and you have to think about the nighttime, and you have to think about the wind and the dust and the light. There's a lot of things to consider. It's not the ultimate weather experience, but it's pretty intense. You know, those of us who make installation work for the playa really have to think about the body, the human body, in every regard that it interacts with the artwork. So this is a design for the cutouts that are in the scales to allow light and air through it, so that you can actually see the difference between the inside and the outside from the exterior, but hopefully also gives a sense of form. We've got an amazing crew. These are 3 of our intrepid ladies. We've got lots of dudes, too. All genders are welcome. We've got Jen on the left and June in the middle and Masha on the far right. This is a few more of our crew. There are more than this. We're at about 15 people. We'll probably have 20. These are dedicated, experienced, slightly crazy playa artists. We've got a really wonderful wide variety of people. We've got psychologists and fabricators. We've got a couple of our most important team members here. Catbird Bloom, I believe, gave an address earlier today, and Jules Mansilla. These 2 ladies are very important. They're helping put together a lot of our logistics and important stuff. So we have an amazing team. Everybody is volunteer, and we're looking forward to dedicating ourselves to a really hard summer of work, but also an exciting one. I mean, there's a lot of discovery that goes in, and having a really wide variety of skills involved in the group means that, well, for those of us who are doing the design work, we have a lot of input and a lot of expertise to draw from and a lot of logic to draw from as well. You know, all of these people have not only a lot of playa experience, but have made a lot of amazing things. I mean, Jules, for example, is one of our logistics queens, and she also is a fabric goddess. Thank everything that we have her. We got to build this yummy interior. And so we're just really blessed, and we're really grateful. And I want to say thank you so much for being here and for supporting this and supporting the Burning Man efforts. And thank you especially very much to the Burning Man Project. We've gotten an amazing grant from the project, and we're doing our best to fundraise the rest. And we have a whole bunch of information and some models outside if you'd like to come, you know, ask us questions or have a visit or test how sharp the teeth are or whatever it is. So thank you very much. Thrilled to be here.
So, you know, as Rebecca's talking about fire, you know, I always love talking about fire art here at Desert Arts Preview and Beyond. We do fire art better than anyone else in the world. And it's all due to the wonderful hundreds of artists who bring out their fire art to the playa. To give you a sense of how brightly we're going to burn this year in Black Rock City, last year we had about 8 projects that were funded with flame effects, so using propane to fire up. This year we have more than 32 different projects that are funded that are going to be out there burning bright in the desert sky. We're going to have everything from Charnival will be there, which will be very similar to Sharkade, which is a collection of different fire pieces. Matisse Enzer's here right now. He's bringing back Last Flamethrower, like the Flamethrower Shooting Gallery. We're going to have Risky Ball. We're going to be having a little bit of everything out there. If you want fire, you're going to have it. So we also have other things. We love to actually see in our project come to fruition through fire. I think in a lot of ways, when you think about Burning Man, more often than not, you think about those different structures that come together, they materialize on the playa surface. You get to experience them, embrace them, feel them actually touch and change who you are, and then we release them in flame. One of the wonderful pieces we're blessed to be able to fund this year is the Life Cube. Now, Skeeter is someone who actually started doing the Life Cube probably about 4 years ago, and in the short amount of time he started doing it on playa, he's actually gone out to do different Life Cubes in Las Vegas. He's also planning one right now for Reno. He spends an amazing amount of time helping to bring wishes to life through fire. So with that, I'd like to welcome Skeeter to come tell us a little bit more about Life Cube for this year.
Good evening. You know, the first time I was ever called an artist was after the first year of being on the playa by Betty June, and I wasn't sure I qualified, and she said, no, you actually qualified now as being called an artist. I'm going to start with a short 2-minute video, 2.5-minute video, and then I'm going to tell you the story of my journey to Burning Man, and then out of Burning Man, back to Burning Man. So with that, depending on the technical aspects, this is what we did. This is what we did in Las Vegas last year.
You're talking about a 3-story, 24-foot building, and we're going to engulf it in flames, and thousands of people will be around it, and it'll be a blast.
We have over 700 volunteer waivers. They've came and painted or helped us build satellite cubes, brought us food, brought us water, tons and tons of people from all walks of life. It was amazing.
A big part of this project in Las Vegas was to figure out how to create as many surfaces for artists to be able to paint. So that's the big difference of this versus some of the other installations that I've done.
All of this has started from a simple premise. If you write down your goals, you are somehow able to get on the pathway to obtaining them.
There's a long tradition of burning your wishes as a way to releasing them into the universe. There's a long-standing practice in terms of sanctifying those things, purifying them, and that's what I think is going to be overpowering.
I think that people, as they write down, as they put their wish in the cube, there's a moment that's created. And it goes with that whole reason of why I believe you should write it down as a first step to manifesting.
And we've just grown into this amazing interactive place where people can come and share their hopes, wishes, goals, dreams, and aspirations.
The kids ask me all the time, why do you burn it? And so I've come up with 3 reasons. Reason number 1, there has to be a finality to this project. I've enjoyed my time in Las Vegas. It's been a blast. And I love watching what is happening here on a nightly basis, but there has to be an end. Reason number 2, there's a spiritual sense to it. The fact that these wishes, goals, dreams, ambitions all go up into the universe, to me is something very personal. Reason number 3 is it's just really fun. I mean,
I'm going to keep drifting because I'm not used to standing in one place, and anyone that knows me knows that about me. So the Life Cube project was started on a belief that I have that if you write down your goals, dreams, wishes, and aspirations, that the probability of it happening increases significantly. And I went to Burning Man 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, and was totally amazed and turned on by the art. And I came back from that experience and said, someday I want to come back to this place and be an artist. And I wrote it down. And 5 years later, I created a slide that doesn't work. Well, I created the Life Cube project, which is an interactive and experiential art for the community. And it's so funny because the last time I took an art class, I think, was 3rd grade, but my experience at going and seeing art, whether it be in a gallery or at a festival or in a museum, was always that you stood behind a line and you looked. You didn't touch, you didn't write on it, and God help you if you thought about painting it. The Life Cube project was based on being able to interact. What's going on here, Betty? Okay, so the first cube was terrible. I'm going to be honest with you. Okay, look, I wanted to be an artist. I said I was going to. We built an 8 by 8 foot cube. How big is 8 by 8 foot? It's really small, and yet it's approximately 8 by 8. But it was based on 2 things. One, I wanted to make sure that it didn't collapse, so it was built to support 20 people. We had a group of volunteers who helped build it in New York. The graphics were terrible. The colors could have looked like a Microsoft display. I mean, I could go through, because after every single art installation I've done, I've written down everything that I would do differently, and there was a really long list that year. But it did have slots in the bottom that you could put these wish sticks, these things that you write down your goals, dreams, wishes, and aspirations, and put it inside. And I'm going to say that a few hundred people did that. But the magic happened when people came up to me, some friends and some people I had never met, and said, "Can I have a stack of those things?" And they gave them out at the morning and sunrise. They said, "There's an artist over here. He created this thing called the Life Cube. You've got to go and check it out and put your wishes. He thinks if you write them down that it'll come due. Do you have a dream?" And they did that. And I watched this magically because I was like so not thinking this was a great project. And yet we did get to do something really cool. We burned it, and it was a big bonfire. I mean, you know, it's 8 by 8. It's not like a giant burn like the man burn or anything like that. But the project was based on 2. Is that staying where it was? No. Betty June. Oh. I don't know what it. We'll go back. Okay. Two things that the Life Cube is based on. One, writing down your goals, dreams, wishes, and aspirations. I believe it. I believe it works. I came from a lower middle income household in the inner city of Rochester, New York, during the riots in the 60s. I've gotten to do a lot of things in my life. I attribute a lot of it to having written down what I wanted to accomplish in my life. And so, to me, it's something that I've told my daughter about. I have been passionate about sharing with friends and people that I've worked with. And the second thing is community. Are we at community? Yes. Okay. And it really does. This project, though it's my art installation, it's a community that has built it, and that community has continued to grow. We call them Cubists, C-U-B-E-hyphen-I-S-T. But they are people who are unbelievably passionate. So 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago, I received a call from an architect who helped manage the renovation of the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. And he said, I've heard about your project and I'd like to talk to you. Would you come up to my office? And I didn't know anyone that he knew. He didn't know anybody I knew. He just heard about this project at Burning Man. He listened to me talk for 2 hours about the ideas I had, and he said, listen, if you can go home, write down all these ideas, and send them to me, I would like to donate my time and my firm's resources to making it better. Now, the problem is I am an artist, and I tell this to people when I start speaking usually. I don't write, or I don't draw, paint, or sculpt. I cannot hammer a nail straight. So when he said, send me the ideas, no problem, draw me a picture was a problem. The fortunate thing is my daughter had building blocks, so I built up these building blocks in cardboard, and I took a picture with my BlackBerry and I sent it to him. Well, he came back with, he said give him about 3 weeks because he was really busy. A week later, he said, I have not been able to stop thinking about your project. I'm sending you 10 video renderings through CAD drawings. Just take a look at them when you get a chance and let me know what you think. Well, that was at 2 in the morning. I got up, I got out of bed. By 6 in the morning, I had identified what I liked on each one of the videos and sent him a list with all my comments. And so we ended up with a full set of blueprint plans. Now, how big is 24 by 24 as opposed to 8 by 8? You know, my second cube was 16 by 16, which was not twice as big. It's 8 times as big for people that don't know. But if you take, I believe me, for almost 6 months, I kept saying I'm building one twice as big, and people said, you know, Skeeter, it's not twice as big, it's 8 times as big. So to give you, though, from that 8 by 8, okay, if you take the person in this third row here, right there, yeah, stand up, and if you go all the way down, third row down there, right, you, okay, and then all the way back to the end of this first section, and you guys all stand up there, that's how big my first cube is. And it goes all the way to the ceiling, because this is actually a 24, stand up, all of you, like, this whole first section. So that's my third cube, and it was big, and so thank you. Sit down, sit down. So there were a lot of additional components now that, you know, because I really wanted to increase the interactivity and the engagement with how people worked and played with the cube. So we added write boards in the second cube, and that was for people to write on the outside. And that was great. We used water-based markers. It rained that year. It washed off. I was really bummed because we didn't take pictures. But then the ants came, they came back, the burners came back and wrote all over again. So it was really cool. It's experiential. So this one, I've got to tell you, this is where I'm learning so much. In the middle of it's 6 o'clock in the morning, the day before Burning Man opens, an artist comes up to me. Her name is Angelina, and she says, I'm a muralist, and I'm looking to paint a mural as a tribute to my grandmother. And do you know of any place that I could do that? And I said, well, why don't you get off your bike? It was 6 o'clock in the morning. I just got off playing, you know, practicing yoga on top, and walk on the other side of the cube. And we walk all the way around. And I said, how about this wall? She said, well, can I have up to here? I said, you said you're a muralist. I mean, why don't you take the whole thing? She said, you could have the whole thing? I said, yeah. So the next thing I know, she's pulling buckets of paint and rollers, and she creates an amazing piece of work. And the thing is that people who were at Burning Man that year and saw it got to watch art being created, which I thought was really a unique experience. We're radically inclusive. So up here you're seeing a tapestry wall. This year I will be giving out 1,000 tapestries to burners or people who are just interested in the project to paint, draw, or write whatever they want on it, and we will create a tapestry of the community. And this one we did in Las Vegas, we had 750 that we got back. And so what I did, we went across horizontally and vertically, and then we started putting them in a diamond shape and creating a circle of life. And it's beautiful, but it's really representative of the community. And the cube at Burning Man in 2013, that's the mural that Angelina did. And we lit it up really cool, and it's visually stimulating, and we added now lasers, and the lights change, and we've got some tremendous lighting engineers that have donated their time and energies to continuing to make this better and cooler. And at the end, we did burn it. And by the way, so the first cube I mentioned, maybe 100, 200 people around the burn. The second cube was 16 by 16. We might have had 1,000 people. This third cube was kind of a big deal. I like to say that's the rock star moment. That was 10,000 people. At least that was our best guess. So you got to stop this now. Okay. So my last wish when 2 years ago was to take it from a city to a museum around the world. I met Tony Hsieh in outside of Las Vegas at a conference, told him about the project. He said, can you do this in Las Vegas? I said, sure. This is what we built in Las Vegas. We invited local artists to come and paint, draw, and do whatever they wanted, and it exploded with creativity. And then I had this idea of smaller cubes that we were going to give to businesses to drive people to the bigger cube. But then I met two teachers, and they said, what are you going to do for the youth of our community? And so I offered to speak to any school that wanted me to, and to give them a satellite cube. Well, I don't know about anybody in this room, but there are a lot more schools than I thought there were in Las Vegas. There are 380 schools. I ended up speaking to I've spoke to thousands, 5,000 plus kids, and also they came and they saw it. But we also gave 89 smaller cubes, which the kids decorated and painted on. And at the end of the day, that's what the cube looked like. In the middle of downtown Las Vegas, the sparks going up to the top were 85 feet. Thank you very, very much for your time.
So one of the beautiful things that Skeeter's done is he's got a bunch of different cards outside, so you can also start to craft and think about your dreams that you too can contribute to the Life Cube this year. So moving on, thinking about fire, you know, we've talked to Rebecca Anders a little bit about the things that she's done. Thinking about, you know, the Flux Foundation has done a lot on Playa. The Flux Foundation has been heavily involved, and Rebecca helped to really craft and create this wonderful entity that's brought everything from the Temple of Flux to Brawley Flock, and this year to Dreamland. So we're lucky enough to have with us Katie McGee, who's going to talk to us a little bit about the wonderful plans they've got for how they are going to light up the dark skies of Black Rock City. So, forward, this is what's up, what's next.
Okay.
You have 100 slides. So just
Yeah, we have a lot of slides. Now for something completely different.
That's my go button.
This is Paul. I'm Katie. We're part of the Flux Foundation. Just as a question, who out there has been part of a Flux project? All right, we got a few people.
Two
All
of
right,
you?
cool.
There are 200 strong. There's 2 of you here?
We were not the people that were going to present tonight, so we have a speed round of art to show you. Flux has been around for 5 years. We started in 2010. We're a nonprofit based in Oakland, and our mission is to engage people in designing and building large-scale interactive public art as a catalyst for education, empowerment, and collaboration. We're just gonna keep on going. So, 2010, we built the Temple of Flux. Just keep going. We're just gonna keep going. Yeah.
You just keep talking. I'll just keep clicking. It's totally fine.
Okay. So we built the Temple of Flux with about 150 people. We raised over $100,000. It was our intention to build the nonprofit so that we could do this work consistently and sustainably outside of Burning Man, to bring art, just like all of you want to, outside of this community and into others. Every year we focused on a little bit more on what drives us, and what we're really aiming for is bringing people into our community who have never built anything before, who have never picked up a tool, or who have an amazing skill set and want to contribute something. And we bring them together, we create an artistic vision, we create a container, and people get to contribute at all different levels to all the projects that we create. So the temple was our first project. We are now into project 13, so we're just gonna keep on going. This is Fishbug. Fishbug was designed by Rebecca Anders and Jess Hobbs. It's really awesome to see Illumicamp and to know that, like, just to see the work that Rebecca's doing now. Like, this is a project that was done in 2009 for Burning Man. It's a pretty magical piece. It had fire, it had breathing lungs, it projected crazy thoughts into its brain. It was an interior space that you could go inside, much like Illumicant. In 2010, we were granted an opportunity from BRAF to build a small piece for the autumnal event. It was called Spire of Wishes. Spire of Wishes was a small bench, and we built it specifically for the Bentley Reserve. It now lives in Napa, and it was a very small piece, but again, built totally through collaboration with a small team of people. 2011, we built Brawley Flock. Brawley Flock is a sculpture of renegade umbrellas that have gone amok. They are, there's an interactive flame effect, there's also a misting system, and LEDs. We built it as a commission from Insomniac, and we have showed it probably 5 times since then, and it now has a new life, which you'll see in a little bit. All right, one more. Okay. Sidewalk. The Sidewalk was a project that we did for Coachella in 2013. And the Sidewalk was an interactive piece that was based on Where the Sidewalk Ends by Shel Silverstein. We wanted to create an environment in Coachella where you could get elevation, you could experience the festival around you, and it really was a place, a meeting place. Almost all of our sculptures are about creating an environment and a state of mind. And the Sidewalk was a place where you could kind of go back to your childhood and draw on chalk and be on the grass and be up above everyone watching the festival. Zoa was the last piece we did for Burning Man in 2012. Very exciting. Zoa is a sculpture in 3 acts. Its initial form were 3 seed pods that had blown across the playa and had landed in this unforsaken environment. They had taken root, and on the 3rd day of Burning Man, we burned the wood away, and what was revealed beneath this were 3 organic creatures that were crawling across the playa. They emerged as beings with flame. We had propane effects and we had methanol effects. And they live on, we've shown them several times, and one lives, right now, Billy lives outside at American Steel. You can see her every day. Colony is a piece that we did for the American Association of Museums. We've done a lot of pieces at this point. We really got to create an interactive environment for a bunch of museum professionals at an annual conference. Through that, we got connected to the University of the Arts, which Paul will talk about real quick.
This is a piece called Canopy. It was for a symposium for curators of the Museums Associations of America, representing the umbrellas represent the umbrelling effect that we all have, how we're all connected. It was able to be hung by this atrium ceiling that were attached to a bunch of bamboo boxes that everybody who came into this atrium could spin these bamboo box spindles and raise and lower them all at various heights, making every single person that came into that experience part of the art and part of the artistry.
Flexicle's interactive small projects that we've built and taken out to Oakland Art Murmur and other places. They're really easy projects that people have been able to tap into and build their own small art. And this was a piece that Cheryl Frelick created called the Dragon Wagon.
This is our latest piece we just finished installing about a month ago. It's our first semi-permanent or semi-long-term install called Bloom. We took our Brawley Flock project. We got a grant because they wanted to do something called Second Nature at Philadelphia, which is a bunch of artists that are using recycled pieces from all different things, chewed bubble gum to recycled cutlery. So we took recycled car parts and to reflect endangered species of the butterfly. These are car parts, car bumpers, traffic lights, and it will be in the Philadelphia Zoo for 9 months for my Jersey peeps. Get out there and check it out.
Okay. So now Dreamland. So we enter.
Still with us here, folks.
I didn't know he put this slide in here.
Speed round here.
This is a speed round. Okay. So Dreamland. Dreamland is actually a real place. It existed on Coney Island. It was an amusement park, and it was in competition with Luna Park. They created Dreamland to be kind of the antithesis of Luna Park. It was an ethereal space. It was a space full of light, which ultimately led to its demise. there was too many light bulbs, and it actually burned to the ground.
Oopsie.
But our dreamland echoes that space. It's a space in between. It echoes the excitement, the energy of the carnival, the wild lights, moving parts, but it also echoes the experience of the boardwalk and the sound of, if you can imagine sitting on a boardwalk bench and listening to the sound of the waves and the birds and the children and the games behind you. This I don't know about this slide.
Sorry.
We looked a lot at references to boardwalk, references to kind of these modernist lines that we wanted to add into our sculpture. We looked at carousel swing rides. We looked at regular carousels. We looked at the light patterns that we wanted to create, the environment, the space, the state of mind that we really wanted to form on the playa. So this is what we're looking at. This is a very basic sketch. So there's a carousel central piece in the middle. That carousel is controlled by you. There's a ring in the center, and you can spin it, and it spins the arms above your head. At the top of that spire is a flame effect. The 3 lampposts in the space also have flame effects, and there will be LED lights that run along the spine of the carousel and on the bottom side of the arms. The benches exist as a way to kind of be inside the sculpture, and then the benches on the outside, they both delineate the space, and they also include a sound element. This is a quick sketch of it aerially, and this is in some of our dimensions. It's about 18 feet high. The space itself will probably be about 100 feet across. I get a little bit more of an aerial view.
We have we brought in a ringer. With her great graces, we have collaborated with the lovely Kate Raudenbush, who will be designing the top spire, the filigree above where the flames will meet at the top of the piece.
So at rest, the piece will be quiet. It will be a kind of wafty, wavy space. You will hear a sound environment. So the bigger benches have speakers inside them, and you will hear the sounds of the carnival and the sounds of the boardwalk. When you begin to spin, something magical happens, and when you spin that ring, flame effects will be ignited and LEDs will be ignited. That sound will drift away, and it will become an environment of spectacle and frenzy and chaos. And then when it's at rest again, the music will come back. So we're really looking at this kind of tension between, in the way that Burning Man is, spaces of respite and spaces of chaos, and creating an environment and a state of mind where you can experience the carnival outside of the carnival. I think that's, there is still more. Those are all kinds of stuff.
So we are based out of American Steel. We're in Bay 3. If you don't know the basic philosophy behind us, we are a volunteer-based organization. I don't care if you've never seen a tool before. You're welcome. Wednesday nights, 7 p.m.
Absolutely.
For any of you that are just here to check out what the art is, what you don't know is that none of us artists have ever done it alone. It's built on this community. It's built on the support and the love from the DJs to the org to everything else. So come down, support us. We'll support you. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
So as you can tell, in this very short evening, we're only scratching the surface of all the wonderful stories, the wonderful ideas, the wonderful creativity, the artwork that's been done just in the spirit of Burning Man is just amazing and immense. And also, for a lot of the work that we do on Playa, while we are only out there for the event for 8 short days, much of it lives on, as you can see, everywhere from the Philadelphia Zoo to Las Vegas to Treasure Island to lots of different places. And a lot of the art only starts to begin its life with us on Playa. One project that's really going to start to tap into the idea of this is only its beginning is Capra's piece. And I'm not going to say the name because I'm going to murder it. So I'll let Capra say it because she's the best at this. Capra's got an amazing pedigree in that she worked 2 years ago with us with Aeolian Hall and Pyrophonic Wall. She brings a great marriage to technology and fire with lights to dance across the skies of the Black Rock Desert. So with that, I'd love Capra to come up and share a little bit about our project.
Don't yell at me for putting on my heels.
I know, she's got a hurt leg, and it's like...
She's like getting on my case about heels earlier. So I'm here primarily to answer 3 questions. Number 1, what is a white chick doing creating artwork of a Mexican god? Number 2, why would I rather be welding in a dust storm than hanging out on a beach in Thailand? And number 3, I don't know, but I'm sure you'll have that question. Someone out there? It's probably already bowling. And the first question is probably, how do you pronounce this? And it's Ashiacoatl. So let me take you to a giant ritual celebration where people spend the entire year making artwork to give away. Then they imbibe lots of entheogens, dance, drum, play music. Sound familiar? I'm not actually talking about Burning Man. I'm talking about life in ancient Mexico City, home of the Mexica or Aztecs. I became obsessed with Mexican culture, ancient Mexican culture that is, while I was studying natural building in Tlaxcala, which is a tiny state in the mountains east of Mexico City, about 2.5 hours. And Mexico City was once Tenochtitlan, the capital of the Aztec Empire, and Tlaxcala was the one state that they hadn't conquered, much to their consternation in about 1519 to 1521 when Cortez showed up. While I was in Tlaxcala, I visited Cacaxtla, which is the site of a pyramid with well-preserved murals. And these murals are really incredible. They're like Botticelli's, but if Botticelli were painting jaguar and eagle warriors duking it out over a 50-foot wall. So while I was in this place studying the vibe of it and the surrounding landscape, it really struck me the intensity of the culture that was once on this continent. And it gave me a new perspective on what it means to be a North American. So after quite a few years, like 10 years of complete intimidation about the subject, I finally dove into studying the conquest for a novel I wanted to write. And I really discovered that this was an epic in history where 2 absolutely advanced civilizations came head to head and had this moment of contemplating collaborating together before they decided to annihilate each other instead. But this got me to this place where I wondered. And have you ever wondered what it would have been like if Cortez and his band of 400 men had not managed to sweet talk and swindle their way into the heart of Tenochtitlan and destroy it all? At the time, Tenochtitlan was a city of 250,000 people, which is arguably by far the largest city on the planet at the time. And Cortez's own foot soldiers were just blown away by the towers and the botanical gardens, the zoos, the aviaries, the causeways, the aqueducts that were there, and most of all, the marketplace, which was unlike anything in Europe at the time. So what would have happened if Cortez's commander had not gone wild while he was away and slaughtered the Mexican warriors while they were in a ritual dance? Would their culture have survived? Would they have done away with some of their more horrific practices, including human sacrifice and cannibalism? And would our science have been more informed by our dreams? And most importantly, would our cities more closely resemble Black Rock City? So Ashiacoatl is a piece inspired by the Mexican feathered serpent god Quetzalcoatl. Ashiacoatl means the mask of the serpent. And it is going to be a 21-foot tall effigy of the mask of Quetzalcoatl made out of copper, and in his mouth is a warrior that he's swallowed, and that is translucent, and that will be made of copper mesh. So one of the theories behind Quetzalcoatl is that Cortez might not have succeeded in his path had he not so resembled the red-headed deified king Quetzalcoatl, and thus convinced the Mexicans that he was that. So I've been wanting for some time to resurrect this true spirit of Quetzalcoatl and bring him home to his people on the playa. To make Ashiacoatl more fun, we planned to collide the Aztec myth with the American myth of the Wizard of Oz, which was kind of born out of this year's theme. And because that makes sense, right? So you as participants will be invited to come inside the warrior's head and pull the levers and spin the big wheels and thus control his mood. So from peaceful to angry, the lighting and flame effects on the sculpture will reflect the mood that you've chosen. So let's look at what he looks like in the day. So you can see there the translucency of the head. And then Ushaya is part of a multi-year plan. It was originally conceived as Quetzalita, this sculpture that you see here, and intended to be brought in one piece, which proved extremely overwhelming to fund, and not to mention just to find a studio that had the gantry crane of the right size. So we decided to make it in multiple parts. And let's see if I can control this video. What do I do? There's a video here. Oh, there it is. So this is Vila, my daughter. She's 2, and she's hoping to become one of the youngest artists out there. So she's featured in our video, and this shows how the work will grow with her. So in its first incarnation, we go from our lovely maquette here to the piece that we're envisioning this year, the 21-foot Ushaya. And then we will add a 60-foot long kinetic tail that will allow the participants to draw on the playa floor. And then we will bring forth Quetzalita, the great-granddaughter of Quetzalcoatl, who will shed her great-grandfather's skin and grow her own wings. So that's the multi-year plan. And now we get to the next question, which is, why would I rather weld in a dust storm than be hanging out on a beach in Thailand? And I have to say that the best thing about Burning Man for me is the act of gift giving through the massive effort of bringing art. And being part of this culture that is in itself very dreamlike and ephemeral. Because for me, I make art in Black Rock City because I've always been slightly lost in a world that commodifies everything. And so when I first got out there after years of saying I never would go, I was blown away by the fact that everything there is done just for the intrinsic wonder of making things of beauty. So almost everything that you see on the playa was done out of people's intrinsic motivation by volunteers. And that is just breathtaking to behold, and I want to be right in the center of that. So let me, without further ado, introduce you to my team. I'm joined with Nicole Gagne and Zachary Heilman to build the base of the sculpture. Johnny America is building our flame effects, and we're really excited about having him on the team. We have Brett Dorr. He's a first-time burner who's really well known for making Rube Goldberg machines for OK Go and Goldie Blocks videos. He's in charge of our interactive effects, so all the physical controls will be really fun to play with because he's working on them. And we've just added Mark Rosenthal as our lighting designer, which is probably one of the most important roles on this piece. And he's known in the LA burner community as an incomparable lighting designer and has brought numerous projects to the playa and the regionals. So we hope that you will join us over the many years as the project evolves and come help us create and enjoy the sculpture both in our studio, which is in Big Sur. So we are working in Big Sur in majestic surroundings outdoors. Our conditions are very similar to the playa. We're off-grid and we use generators, and we have windstorms and dust storms, and it's 3 hours to go to the nearest supplies. So we'd love to invite you up to camp with us, weld with us. It's really, as so many of the other amazing artists that I'm very honored to be amongst have pointed out, it's really a group effort to put these things together. And I like to get talented people on my team and let them just go wild with their creativity. But we would love to have you join us. It's a stunning view. You can't see in this photo because it was really cloudy that day, but it's an ocean view from here to here. And then I also want to extend a huge thanks to the Burning Man Project and Betty, June, and Brody, who have helped us carry the vision through to this point. As you can see, we've got our base is built. It's burly. And to all the community members who've helped us fund it so far and carrying forward. And to Davex and Propaniac for training most of our crew in flame effects last weekend. So we would love to play with you further, and we look forward to bringing the artwork. out this year.
So, you know, one of the things about Burning Man is that it's a real celebration of not just those of us here in Northern California or the Nevada desert. It's actually really a celebration of how our culture touches the world and what we can do to help drive its content to influence not only our generations, but generations to go. One of the wonderful pieces we have this year that really is a celebration of that unity of both the drive that we have intrinsically born here from the Bay Area, as well as Taiwan, the beautiful dream community. And I'd love to welcome Charlie and Kiwi to come up and tell us a little bit about Mazu. So this is what's on the screen. That's what we do. Space bar. Okay.
Wow. Hi, everybody. You really can't see anything up here, eh? This light's pretty intense. Yes, we've been asked to represent a goddess from Taiwan. This project started about December last year with a friend of ours that went over to Asia and was having a bit of time out over there, and another friend of ours, Dave X, suggested that he goes and meets this guy Gordon at the Dream Community. And so Nathan goes to the Dream Community and meets Gordon and finds out what's sort of going on there, and Gordon said to him he'd like to do an art project at Burning Man. Can you do that? And Nathan said, no, it's not that easy. So this guy Nathan is still over there at the moment in Taiwan. Myself and Charlie have come back a couple of weeks ago, and we're basically heading up the build phase here. I'll just actually see if this works. Yeah, look at that. This is a rendition of Mazu. She's a goddess that, well, as a young girl, of course, was born in 960 AD, and she was a very precocious young girl and obviously had something special about her. And she lived in a fishing village on the east coast of Taiwan, and basically realized that there was a lot of family and friends that were being lost at sea. The fishermen wouldn't return at home at night, so she figured it would be a good idea to perhaps go out there and hold a lantern so the fishermen could see where the shoreline was and actually make it safe home. So over the centuries, Mazu has become a guider of the travelers, and definitely for the fishing people at sea to guide them home safely. So basically what happened is this guy Gordon came to Burning Man one time, and he actually was traveling around the world and checking out all the various festivals that were going on around the place, because he really wanted to try and create something back home in Taiwan that built community, that actually brought community together. And so he went to the various festivals, Mardi Gras and whatnot, and ended up at the Fremont parade, where he gloriously coated himself in red paint and rode a bike around with a giant phallic symbol on the bike. Kinda. So anyway, he was also suggested to go to Burning Man and experience that, which he did. On returning back to Taiwan, he obviously needed to express himself. So he created a parade there, which is now growing every year. And basically, the other thing that he created was this environment for artists to come and have an internship and decorate buildings. He basically builds these amazing buildings over there, and has an internship going on where artists from all over the world come and get involved in this process. And we were over there for, Charlie was over there in January and then February, and then I ended up going over there at the end of February, along with about 6-7 other people, where the design process for this project had begun. Charlie is the lead artist on the project. I'm kind of some sort of figurehead. An old wrinkly one that's been to the desert too long. But at the end of the day, it's become a very much a team effort, and it's quite an amazing process to be in another country and be asked to represent that country and a community at Burning Man. So what you'll see, oh yeah, right, this is the community. This is really interesting. So there are an amazing bunch of people there. Gordon promotes, or not promotes, but he requires everybody to think outside the square and actually imagine what they could do if there was no restrictions. And so basically he has created this place where we ended up meeting these amazing people. You'll see there on the right the group of people in the office just as I was leaving. Charlie and I left a couple of weeks ago to get back here. And they're so welcoming, friendly, honourable, charming and gentle people. And we are very honoured to represent them on this project. This was the think tank room that they set up for us there, and it was a very interesting process going through the design because it did change a few times. And what was originally going to be very much a traditional temple for Mazu was Gordon, in one of the meetings, challenged us to think differently than that. So instead of just replicating a basic Taiwanese temple, he said, think outside the square. And so we had to. We cut a big hole in it and we changed the design. What I'd like to do at this stage is pass over to Charlie here to explain some of the things that are going to go on in the temple. We don't want to tell you everything that's going on. And we've got some pretty good surprises up our sleeve. But rest assured, it will be an amazing environment. When you go there, you'll experience somewhat the feeling and emotions of being in a temple environment in another country. So I'd like Charlie now to explain some of those intricacies that you may be finding there.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, by the way. I kind of feel like the prodigal son of Asia right now. I've been running around for 30 some odd years wondering what it really means to be Asian. And as that happened, this project fell into my lap. And I was like, well, I guess I'm going to Taiwan. I got to Taiwan and I realized that this art project isn't really an art project and more of a cultural exchange. We really want to showcase what the Taiwanese and Eastern culture has to show you in terms of the rich art culture that is over there. So we got over there and started working on our mock-up designs. We have costuming being made over there. We have metal sculptures that'll be made out of mild steel instead of stainless like in the photo. Our project is going to be 40 feet tall. The main island is 50 feet in diameter. The whole footprint is about 150 feet in diameter. Each of the lanterns is a CNC LED addressable, and it's 108 of them that are to resemble the rosary of Buddhist religion. We had an open house very much like this to showcase what we were planning on doing and getting the Taiwanese community involved and excited about it. So we're going to be bringing about 75 Taiwanese people to Burning Man for the first time. With that, we're creating, of course, our Mazu Temple, which is a lotus shape, and if you looked at it from the sky, it looks like a floating lotus with some islands off of it. But we will also have a Taiwan Village theme camp that will have a night market culture, some gambling, you know. We will be hosting workshops in our temple, breathing workshops, meditation workshops. We also have 3 parades and a fireworks display Friday nights. This is one of our daytime renderings of what it'll look like. You know, don't want to really get into too many details. We want to keep some secrets for you. Here it is in a windstorm. Everybody knows about windstorms. But I feel really, really fortunate to be the ambassador in between 2 cultures that I hold so dearly in my heart, the Burning Man community and the Asian community. I feel super honored. And with that, this is what it'll look from a bird's eye view. Cheers.
Thank you. So I mean, it's one of those things, again, where we can almost measure how our community, how our art, how our people actually impact the world. What may start as just one simple little project, one simple idea, when you start talking to people, it grows. And its influence grows across the world. As you can see, to Taiwan. We have art this year coming also from all over Europe. We've had our first Ukrainian artist is going to come out with a huge piece as well as our favorite Russians are coming back. But I think arguably one artist who has probably impacted the world in ways that we cannot yet measure is Marco Cochran. Marco, through the beauty of his work, has really reached out and really kind of dipped into our hearts and souls to think about what is beauty, who are we, and how do we affect the world around us. So with that, I'd love Marco to come up and talk a little bit about the Bliss Project.
All right. Wow. Hi, everyone. We can't see you. I'm Julia. This is Marco. And we're here to talk about the Bliss Project. And we're going to start with, you'll notice that we might be using other words here, and you're going to have to insert those words for yourself because we notice there's some kids in the audience, which we didn't necessarily anticipate. Okay. So, hi, everyone. Many of you might be familiar with the Bliss Project. We started with Bliss Dance in 2010, and then we followed up with Truth is Beauty in 2013. And now we're thrilled to be working on the third and final sculpture in the series, Revolution, or Our Evolution. And the silver sculpture you saw on your way in, that was Revolution. Obviously, these sculptures are visually beautiful and powerful and moving just on their own. And we'll get to some specifics on Revolution in a few minutes, but we wanted to first talk a little bit about our intent with the series. So the other day I was scrolling through Facebook and I came across a post that encapsulates one of the main messages, of the Bliss Project, and I thought we could start with that. This was the photo. The text read, "This photo posted on STFU Conservatives' Tumblr page last night. The reason why I'm sharing it is not because of the photo itself, which is epic in its own right, but for the comments it generated." One person wrote, "But then again, it's kind of like putting a meat suit on and telling a shark not to eat you." STFU responded, "We men are not sharks. We are not rabid animals living off of pure instinct. We are capable of rational thinking and understanding. Just because someone is cooking food doesn't mean you're entitled to eat it. Just because a banker is counting money doesn't mean you are being given free money. Just because a person is naked doesn't mean you are entitled to them. You are not entitled to somebody else's body just because it's exposed. What is so difficult about this concept?"
So, these sculptures are beautiful and they command attention in the same way women do them. And I'm the first one to admit that the beauty of women is part of the meaning of life for me. But the side effect of that is that women are not safe. So the story of Revolution and the Bliss Project began when I was 7, Anyway, when I was 7, many of you have heard this story, but I'm going to say it anyway, and there'll be words removed. My friend who I grew up with was 9 years old, and she was assaulted outside of my house. My mother told me in gory detail what had happened, and I felt like we, of course, were going to stop the world and find this person and deal with it, right? And that did not happen, and I felt like I needed to do something about it. And being 7, I felt like I probably could, because I didn't know any better. So I wondered how this could have affected her. And it really affected the way I looked at women for the rest of my life, that this happens in the world and nobody knows who it's happening to and what effect is happening. And so I spent my life thinking about this and what to do about it. So my solution has been to ask the question, what would the world be like if women were safe? And to create art that shows the world what women would feel like when they are safe and present in their bodies. The idea being, this is the missing energy in the world, and that through art we can feel its effect, this energy, and feel that we'll have on all of us, excuse me, and catalyze action. My sculptures challenge the viewer to see past the sexual charge that is developed around the female body, which has been used for power and control, to see the human being. They are intended to de-objectify women, inspire men and women, but especially men, to take action and end assault and violence against women, thus allowing everyone to live fully and thrive. In my opinion, Burning Man is a great place to start a revolution. This community is far from perfect, but more than any place I've ever been, there's a feeling here, the energy of community in a group that appreciates women as human beings. But as we celebrate, it's time to face the truth that even here, women are under attack, microaggressions, harassment, to assault. Our culture is way too tolerant of assault. These issues exist because we don't want to look at them, and they thrive in that invisibility. It is up to us to recognize this and act. Act as a group to clearly define safety standards for ourselves and for future generations. Women, we need to hear from you what is going on. And men, we need to act with compassion and clarity to hold each other responsible for our actions. We need to listen to our inner voice and answer, what would the world be like if women were safe? And act from there as if it affects all of us, because it does. I think it will clearly be a better place for all of us.
So to help usher our vision to life, in addition to Revolution this year, we plan to expand the awareness and action Together We Stand campaign that we started in 2013. I'm not sure how many of you were aware of that, but in 2013, we handed out about 10,000 wristbands. They say, Together We Stand, and we asked those who agreed to wear them to take active responsibility for the safety of their sisters on the playa. So we're going to keep this up, of course. But we're also going to be working with a number of camps to create safe spaces at Burning Man. In these spaces, they'll be designated by 22-foot-tall lighthouses that are going to be designed by Marco and also crew members. Participating camps will take active responsibility for the safety of their sisters on the playa. And the lighthouses themselves will act to call attention to the issue, start conversations, literally shine a light.
Good. Okay. A little about the sculpture itself, as some of you might be interested in more technical details. Like Bliss Dance, Truth is Beauty, and Our Revolution was created in collaboration with my friend and model, Deja Solis. Bliss Dance is about dancing even when it's not safe, because it's a powerful thing to do and can change the world. In other words, follow your bliss, and doors will open where you didn't know doors existed. Truth is Beauty is about self-acceptance and love. Our Evolution, which we're working on now, is about being present in the moment and the power of that simple state of being one with the universe, being in the flow, just breathing. I start with a 3/4 life-size clay sculpture, cast in plaster, and then scale that's the sculpture up to 15 feet in clay using a pantograph. Are we going to do?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Pantograph. And a medieval era enlargement tool. It's kind of like a giant compass. Then I made a mold and cast the pieces in plaster, and we are now in the process of enlarging her 3 times again. This time using steel rod and balls in 2 layers like a geodesic structure and in a continuous truss. Ultimately, we will cover her in stainless mesh. There will be LED effects, and we are also planning some special surprises that we don't want to disclose here.
Okay, and just a little bit, of course, we're fundraising. And we're sponsored by the Awesome Flux Foundation. We're fiscally sponsored. So if anyone wants any information about that, we'll be out in the hallway after this presentation.
Okay. So to wrap things up here, I believe it is up to us, the Burning Man community, to take the lead in changing the norms, both at the event and for the world. Our goal is 0 assault at BRC in 2015. Can we do that? The fact that women are assaulted at Burning Man is intolerable, so let's clean it up. We actively talk about putting energy into no MOOP. How about no assault? Be diligent, stay alert for both. We can do this. And then we can bring it out into the world, one safe space at a time. What would the world be like if women were safe? Imagine that. Imagine the changes that would happen for men as well. This is our future together as one family, because it would be that. We can make this happen. We need to start here. Women's tolerance of the situation makes it seem like it's not a big deal. It's a huge deal. It's time to make room for women's voices and the information that they have gathered. Bring balance to the world, take care of each other, dance more, play more, enjoy our children and our friends, and protect our planet. Thank you.
So one of my absolute favorite things about art at Burning Man, or Burning Man art, is the fact that there's so many different layers. There's so many different ideas. Someone may just see Marco's piece and just think about the beauty of releasing yourself and enjoying the moment, while others see that as a beckoning light to a future that we can all hold on to and really charge forth. So one of the areas we have on Playa that often is a beckoning light of truth, a place of release, a place to kind of come together to be able to celebrate, to mourn, to let go, is the temple. We're incredibly blessed tonight in that we actually have almost all the temple builders here. We've got David Best is here, yay. He's recently returned from the wonderful temple he built in Derry in Northern Ireland. We have, of course, the Flux Foundation, the Temple of Flux. We have Kiwi here representing the Temple of Transition, if everybody remembers that small temple. We also have Lightning and Sin here too, the Temple of Holiness. All these amazing, amazing builders, these creators of dreams, these designers of that area that we need to help us relieve our burden just a little bit more each year. Well, we have a new person to join their ranks, Jazz. Jazz has spent the last year planning out the Temple of Promise. Somebody who, when we talk about the temple, a lot of times we talk about the idea that something comes to life in your mind, in your heart, in your soul, that you just can't let go. The temple is truly a calling. It's one of those things that you just can't escape it once it takes hold of who you are. Jazz has spent the last 12 months actually planning out and crafting and honing his idea for what the Temple of Promise can be, both as we experience it as well as it can affect people. So it's a great honor. I invite Jazz up here to talk a little bit about his vision of the Temple of Promise.
Thank you, guys. This is my first rodeo, my first project on Playa, and everyone, all the veteran artists think they know what that means and they've got all this advice, but if they really knew what that meant, I would have gotten the advice that before you take a shower in the green room, you should make sure there are towels. But I'm clean. Anyway, on a more serious note, among sacred spaces, the temple at Burning Man is unique, or very nearly so, and its singular nature derives from a confluence of elements, that it is secular, that it is ephemeral, that it is a gift both to and from the community. Its secularity is no small thing. Beholden to no religious purpose, this temple is free to serve any and all of the needs that people bring to it. Because it doesn't have to make you believe something or worship something. There's a conversation to be had here that is simply unavailable elsewhere. So in designing the temple, you soon discover that people are going to address their needs more directly. And this is reflected in the rituals that have evolved over the years. The central question driving every decision you make is, who are these people? What do they need? The guiding philosophy behind our design is rooted in a story. I was living in New York City, in Brooklyn, when the Twin Towers fell, and in the aftermath, I spent a great deal of time at a vigil in Union Square. The vigil came about spontaneously, and it lasted several weeks, basically until the city cleared it out. It was beautiful. It was heartbreaking. There's a long version of this story, but the short version is simply that one day I come across this wall that is just plastered with flyers. They're missing persons posters, and they've been placed there by the families and loved ones of victims. But unlike the usual missing posters, there's no abduction behind them. There's no mystery there. We all knew exactly what had happened. And on the face of it, these posters seem so obviously a futile act, a thing done in service to desperation, to a belief that maybe, just maybe, fate loves your person as much as you do and has granted some kind of miracle. Maybe she's wandering through the city dazed. Maybe she's suffering amnesia, and maybe this poster can bring her home. And this fantasy is so much better than the alternative that you have no choice but to try. On each poster, you find the identifying details that you expect: height and weight and hair color and eye color and what they were last seen wearing, and if you see this person, please call this number. But if you read on, there are other details too. Here, a father of 6 and a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, and on the weekends he's teaching them soccer. Here, a daughter who loves travel, and for the last 3 months she's been planning a trip to South America. And here, a cousin who has dreamed of being a firefighter since he was 6 and received a toy engine for Christmas. For each poster, someone has combed through a collection of photographs to select just the right one. And then someone has sat down and chosen the words, personalizing words, eulogizing words. For each poster, there's a family that knows the truth, yet feels a duty to their denial, a duty to keep hope for longer than the rest of us. And so someone makes a poster, makes 100 copies, 1,000 copies, and then walks through the city until walls like this one can be found everywhere. And if you lived in New York at the time, you know they were unavoidable. So many families, so many different people responding in exactly the same way. As much as these posters were meant to bring someone home, they were also ritual. So standing there in front of a wall of faces, dead faces, I came to understand everything very differently. Of course, none of those people came home. Today, you can find their names on a monument, at a memorial at Ground Zero. They are carved in granite parapets surrounding waterfalls that occupy the footprints of the World Trade Center. And in my mind, everything about that is wrong. Because that memorial is all about how they died. That wall of missing posters spoke of how they lived, who they were, that they were. So I can draw a straight line from that wall to a temple in the desert with its own rituals, where people bring remembrances and personal altars that they made with their hands, and where they write messages on the structure itself, what would be graffiti in any other sacred space, here becomes the very heart and soul of the place. A mother will come to this temple with a letter to her son lost to suicide. A daughter will scrawl her last farewell to a father who died of Alzheimer's disease. A man will come seeking forgiveness and redemption for unspeakable abuses and a woman will come seeking to forgive and hoping to leave behind the trap of the past. A husband will say goodbye to his marriage, accept that it is over, and give finality to its end. People will grieve. They will celebrate also. A woman will write about overcoming her struggle with addiction, and a man who would find her words insipid elsewhere will find strength in them here and set out on his own path to conquer his own demons. People will marry. Lovers will take vows and make promises to each other. Others will find resolve and make promises to themselves. The words on the walls are so very public, but in their collective anonymity, something special happens. You find shocking candor, because people are writing as often to the dead as the living, because fire will take their words, they write simply and plainly. More than one person will write just this: fuck cancer. There's little poetry there, but it will move some among us to tears. What is this place that can do this? The temple? The temple is a book. It is a book with thousands of authors, uncounted hands. It's a book that no one can read in its entirety before it is gone. But you needn't read far to know the truth that lives there. This book we write together. It is raw, it is honest, it is real. And then, all of the words are gathered and consigned to flame, rendered ash, and given their proper release. As builders of the temple, we carry the privilege and responsibility to make empty pages worthy of what people will bring to them. But what they bring is too great, and so this is an impossible task, and we will fail. But perhaps, too, we will succeed a little, and that will be enough.
Don't go anywhere. So we're going to take... So now we're going to take a few minutes. Don't go away, Jazz. We're going to have our artists join us back up on stage, and I'm wondering if we can turn the house lights up a little bit so we can see if there's some questions people have. Again, this isn't your only chance to reach out and talk to these artists. We invite you to join us for the reception in the lobby. But if you've got that burning question that you know that other people in the audience want to ask, this is your chance. Come on up, guys. Don't be shy.
Okay.
Yes, I know. Okay. Do we have any questions for our artists? We've got some of them. They literally are hiding behind their work. Any questions? Yes, John. Stand up, and then I'm going to repeat it because we're actually recording this, and so I want to make sure we capture it as well. So the question is, how are you going to make that temple?
That's a really good question. And the great thing is, I don't have to have the answer myself. There's this amazing thing that happens. I tell this story. I can do things. I compare it to a screenwriter who writes something like in a screenplay. They fight, and then he just writes 2 words on a page, and there's going to be pyrotechnics and CG and stunt coordinators and stuntmen and EMTs. So I can do something like say, hey, let's put copper on the front of this thing, and go out, and everyone's like, that's crazy. And then I go out and I buy some copper and I put it on a model, and that takes me a day and a half. And then it creates this whole chain of events that follow that are above my pay grade, frankly. So, but those guys right over there, they are amazing, and they have a lot more experience than I do, and all due credit for it not falling down, which it's not until it's supposed to, goes to them.
Other questions? You guys, I know the artists are like, oh, good, we're done. Well, again, I'll tell you what. Thank you, everybody. Oh, oh. Are you talking about for tonight's speaking or for grants? So the question is, what is the selection criteria? How do we actually select these artists, both for tonight as well as for the honorarium? Well, this year was an incredibly challenging year. We instituted a letter of intent process. We had 502 applicants vying for a chance to be able to show their art in Black Rock City with our support. We winnowed that down to 222 people were invited to fully fill out the application. We locked ourselves in a room, having read every single one cover to cover. We argued through every point. We talked it down, and we got it down to the 78 different selected. Some of the ways that we actually select our artists are by looking at how they will impact people's experience on Playa. Interactivity is key. It's probably like the primary source for how we identify Burning Man art. So interactivity is something we look at. We also look at something that that months after the Playa that people are actually going to be going, I saw this amazing temple with a lotus flower. I don't know what happened. And it's those types of pieces that really speak to us, and we want to be able to celebrate. For the art for tonight, we wanted to be able to share with you just a small smattering, a little bit of a taste of the great ideas these guys have crafted. I mean, some of the things and what it means. So when you see these different artworks, you see that there's one layer, the beauty, the excitement, the things that draws you in. Through this talk, you get a chance to learn about more. There's so much more to every single story. And it's such an honor to be able to reach out and identify these guys and harangue them into joining us for the evening. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. So the question is talking about how the artists themselves feel connected to each other, their own process, and how they bring their art to the world. Are there a couple of people who would like to talk? Come on over here, Paul.
Flex Foundation, I think, and don't correct me if I'm wrong on this, was probably the first non-for-profit C-130 that was created out of Burning Man. Just on a business logistics side. Not true. But, well, like I said, correct me if I'm wrong. Luckily, the two women who taught me everything are correcting me when I'm wrong. Again, funny that. Yeah, right. Jesus Christ. Never mind, Betty Jane. No, through that, we've been able to do physical sponsorships for multiple pieces of art. This is just logistics. But inside those logistics, give the opportunity for these artists to be a safe haven, collect their money, not get slammed with, other fees, et cetera, financially. And it doesn't matter what you believe and how these things all happen. Money drives this. Steel costs money, copper costs money, wood costs money. Oh, sorry, Jazz. His first temple, shh.
Here, let's get all yeah, no, go ahead, Paul. Go ahead.
Let me listen. One way in which we're all connected is that we understand what it is to make some crazy thing and go to one of the least hospitable places you could possibly go, and then have it break halfway through setting it up and figure out how to fix it and drive this whole crazy arc of experience and get it all cleaned up and out of there. And it's amazingly intense and very detailed. And if we don't know yet what it's like, we will soon.
And I think I would add that today in the symposium, just listening to people talk about all the mistakes that they make and knowing that I and we are not alone, that the connection of like, you try shit and it doesn't work and then you try it again and you know, this is like, yeah, but the connection of knowing that you're not alone, that you are building, like, there are other people who are into building crazy stuff that are fantastical and impossible. And there's a camaraderie and I think connection. Not only do we not work on each other's projects often, but this sort of just psychic connection between us that we're there. We are all in it together. That is all. Anybody else?
One of the most striking things about making art on the Playa is how open and generous the other artists are with everything about their creative process, like the crazy innovation that they do. It's like the opposite of Silicon Valley, where everyone's like, well, I can't tell you about my idea unless you sign this NDA. They're like, look what I did, and here's like how I did it, and you can do it too. And that, I think, is what has fostered this sort of up-leveling of the art that you see out there, where it just gets more and more insanely creative. And people go out there and they're like, well, he did that, I could do that. And so I think it's a good point that there is a huge connection, and there's something about just seeing ordinary people like us do these things that are crazy and wacky and up-leveling it.
I was just going to say what Jazz said before. I mean, you as an artist on the Playa come up with these crazy ideas, but there's incredible people behind you that are making it happen. They're helping you realize your dream. And that goes everything from the people who donate money to the other artists who give you advice, to the lighting people, to the carpenters, to you folks. I mean, it's the Black Rock Arts Group, that everybody, that heavy equipment, it takes a village, and in many ways it takes a whole community. What do we call it? The Playa, the world. I mean, it takes the world to build this stuff, but it's probably one of the more difficult things that I've done in my life, and yet it's one of the most rewarding things that I've done in my life.
Yeah, I think I can really speak to this, because I don't get to do this as my first art project if when I reach out to all of the people I reached out to, any of them say no. But the thing is, every single one of them says yes, and they take 3-hour meetings with you, and they answer every question you could possibly have. And then you learn, don't ask any questions, just wind them up and get them started, because they've got more wisdom than you know how to ask and extract, and it's amazing. So to all of you who have done that, thank you so much. And to quote Newton, if I have seen farther than others before me, it's because I've stood on the shoulders of freaking Tyrannosaurus Rexes. I mean, that's what what you get to do when you do that. Yes, he did something like that. You also find out, this is important. The highest compliment you can give to a Burning Man artist is to tell them that they are the reason there is fine print on the back of the ticket.
Okay, there was another question I think I saw. Yep. Yes, Mr. Walter. Mm-hmm. Yep. So. Well, for getting the information out, we've got a wonderful crew who does art tours, for instance. Wonderful volunteer group who also do everything from writing detailed audio tours that we post online, which actually capture the words and ideas of these artists to be able to start to actually integrate those thoughts out into our community. We also post on the website, we write blogs, but it isn't enough, quite honestly, get the story out there. And that's why we do things like Desert Arts Preview, to be able to kind of start that dialogue and hopefully at least what your appetite enough to reach out to want to learn more about the different pieces of art. Does anyone else want to?
One of the things we'll be doing is offering visitors passes to the ship. We'll have a form that you need to fill out, and we'll give you a lot more information than you'll ever want to hear. And you'll be signing a release so that, and we'll have some swab tests, and we're looking for some genetic, etc. Where else was I going to go with this?
I don't know.
I
did want to say, I completely forgot to say that we're trying to put out our backstory evolving as it goes along before Burning Man. Hopefully some people will see that and spread the word, and that's on, if you go to aerospacepunk.com, aerospacepunk.com, that'll be where we'll start rolling out. But we're hoping to get that out maybe on JRS or something. We'll put that you should read up on what's going to maybe arrive. We hear rumor, so.
You're the privileged few that know what we're actually going to do. So keep it hush hush. Start talking about the aliens. Everybody else is.
Thank you. So coming from Taiwan, there is so much that is lost in translation. And we're trying to appeal to both demographics here. So we've employed a social media maven and our website will go live along with our fundraising on Cinco de Mayo to bring in some more culture, And, it's really being diligent about what type of information you want to have out there. We upload information every day, whether it be how to get involved or how to create something that you can add to our structure or our camp or whatnot. It's really, really, really about being diligent on social media as well as every other media outlet that you can get your hands on.
Okay, any other questions before we go out and toast these artists? Yes, sir, Mr. Thor.
So since Burning Man is now a nonprofit, we talk a lot about what we think the impact is on the world and how we can help to set the stage for cultural change. I would like to know what you guys think collectively the impact of your art is on the participants at Burning Man in the Black Rock City.
So the question is, what do you think the impact on the citizens of Black Rock City? What is, from your art, what is the impact? Mark? Paul says Marco. Here you go, Marco.
Let's see. What has the effect been? Well, actually, it really worked. I was hoping for Bliss Dance, there's a question as to whether people are going to think they're supposed to look like her or they're going to feel like they feel like her. They feel a feeling she's having. And for both the sculptures, it turned out that people felt the feeling she was having, and that was the whole point, was that the physical could go away and the feeling could be stronger than the physical. And I was really glad that that worked, and I hope that that affects how people see tantalizing bodies, like there's a human inside.
And also, that, and we did hope to get people to think about it. I mean, things happen in the dark. Bad things happen in the dark. And when you start talking about them and they're out in the open, out in the public, they actually stop happening. And we've seen that over and over and over again just in the past few years. The anti-bullying campaigns going on, gay marriage. Well, what about our issue that we're not going to say the word here? But it really does make a difference, and people, I think that people feel different when Marco's sculptures are there at Burning Man. I think it sets a tone.
I don't, Steve, I'm gonna, yeah, let's, yeah. First that. I'm gonna get you for that question, Steve. I just want to say one thing about how you know about impact, because I don't know how to answer that question, but I know one thing for sure, is that the more you mean it when you make the thing, and the more your whole crew means it and feels it and has it in their heart and in their gut and in their hands, the more likely it is to come through in a memorable and a relevant way. and that's what comes back. It's a feel, you know. One more.
And also the ultimate compliment for me, and of people walking up to me and saying, I built this with an inspiration from your project in the past. And it just touches us so much to hear that and to be the inspiration.
I can count it by the number of wish sticks we print. So the first year, it was 1,000 wish sticks, and we didn't go through even half of them. The second year, we printed out 10,000. We went through half of them. The third year, bottom line is 35,000 wishes went up into the air in Las Vegas. And that was without counting the ones that people made on the side that we didn't, they weren't official wish sticks, but that's it. I mean, people write down goals, dreams, wishes. That I get letters all the time that they came true.
With the temple wants to engage you in a conversation, but if it's doing it right, it listens. So what people bring to it, so really the conversation they have ends up being sort of a reflection of whatever they bring to it. So in a way, it doesn't matter that we understand the impact, and there's no way we really can. But you're just there as a vessel for their experience, and if you're doing it right, you're just trying to serve.
So I want to add that the biggest impact I've seen is kind of, you can look at these artists, see what they've done and how they've redefined who they are and their impact on the world. Like how the belief that they can do it, if they can dream it, we can help support them and they can actually change the world. And that's what these guys are all doing, everything on coming from a variety of different backgrounds. It's kind of like one of those things where you may have always struggled through whatever you thought you were supposed to be or supposed to do, and you get to redefine yourself in Black Rock City. And these guys have helped done something that has an echo effect beyond anything we can actually measure. Yay. Let's see. Amir, did you have a question? So the question is, what, besides funding, what other contributions can we make to help support your projects?
Volunteerism, sweat equity. Besides money, sweat equity.
Materials, transportation.
Not all the artists want actual volunteers to show up. Some of them may not want them. They might need very specific skilled labor. For Flux, shameless plug, we'd come on down. Show up.
All right, so well, thank you again. Yeah, change the world yourself. Thank you again, everyone, and thank you, wonderful artists. Thank you, Fort Mason. It's been a pleasure, and we look forward to seeing you in the dust.